And welcome back to Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Around Livingston. It's where we sit down and talk about the news and lifestyle of the day and what's going on in Livingston Parish. I'm joined by a gentleman who is going to introduce himself now.
Hey, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
All right, let's get to it. First and foremost, quick reference, Mr. Gray sat down with Mayor Gerard Landry, who will be entering his third term unopposed. So we went ahead and covered him as if he had won, which technically he did.
Yes, he did.
And so big write-up online at www.livingstonparishnews.com. It'll be on the front page of this Thursday's paper. And also, I had a chance to sit down with Mayor Landry yesterday to kind of talk out that interview. There is a podcast you can find at www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. So getting into the rest of what we're going to talk about today, first and foremost, we spoke several weeks ago about some controversy at the library board meeting. That has now spilled over into the parish council. They put together a resolution based on a letter drafted by Parish President Leighton Ricks. Take it away.
Yeah, that was a late addendum item to the parish council's agenda. It was added about a day after the council made their agenda public. And yeah, like you said, it was President Ricks. He wrote a letter asking the library director and library board to consider reclassifying certain books. There wasn't much of a description of what type of books other than explicit sexual material. That was really the only description he gave of it, and it was passed unanimously by those who were by the council members that were there. And people should know this is just a resolution. Resolutions are non-binding. The Livingston Parish Council actually doesn't have any authority over the Livingston Parish Library to determine what books go where and that sort of thing. This is basically just the council and parish president saying, we are wanting you to reconsider or to reclassify these books. Will you do it? That's basically what it is in a nutshell. But yeah, it was since it was a resolution part of the president's report, they weren't obligated to have any public comment on the matter. And if y'all remember from the story we did from the library's board meeting, that public comment lasted well over an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And so this, there were, I believe, 4 or 5 people who filled out comment cards to comment on this matter on both sides of the issue. But no one was allowed to speak because, like I said, it was part of the president's report after he presented a proclamation on another topic. So this was part of his report, so therefore no public comment. I know a lot of people were frustrated. There was some loud shouts, I guess you could say, after in the hallway after they moved past this agenda item. And I walked out at one point. I do remember hearing one person yelling, "Let's go outside." Don't think anything happened after that, but yeah, there was some passionate feelings on both sides of this debate, because this is a topic that has drawn strong emotions from people who believe that books with sexual material should be reclassified versus people who believe that censorship in any form should not be something that libraries should be entertaining. So the next board meeting is in September for the library, and so the board member has stated her intentions of bringing this up again, and we'll see if it comes up again.
And that board member is Ms. Sandifer.
Yes, Erin Sandifer.
Okay. Moving on, we got an interesting announcement that there is a now signed cooperative endeavor agreement between East Baton Rouge Parish and Livingston Parish with regard to the Amite River. Mayor Gerard Landry actually touched on it when he spoke to you, and as well as when he did a podcast with me. But let's go into a little more detail about what this means. There will be cleaning and de-snagging, correct?
Yes. Grab and snag, I think, is the phrase that Parish President Ricks used when I talked with him about this. And yeah, like you said, this is cleaning the Amite River at the border of Livingston and East Baton Rouge parishes. This was a cooperative agreement between the two parish governments. And basically, it'll go from Port Vincent to the St. Helena Parish line. It's about almost 50 miles. President Rick said, but this is a big deal because I mean that's the Amite River is the major source of flooding in this area, but and the debris has been an issue since the flood, before the flood. I mean, that has been the cause of so much frustration for local government, is what to do about all that. So what helps, I guess, both governments with this project is it's a federally backed program from FEMA. It's a 90-10 splits, and instead of one parish government paying that 10% cost share, they will East Baton Rouge and Livingston will split that, so each is paying 5%. So you work together and it ends up being financially more beneficial for both sides. So yeah, President Ricks, he said this has been in the talks for a few months now. The parish council gave him the authority to seek this agreement a few months ago, and he was just giddy when I spoke with him after this was made public, talking about how this is what happens when two parish governments work together to fill a need that is obviously there. So, and there's some other projects that East Baton Rouge is engaging in on the Comite River, which also will help with flooding in the area. But yeah, so this one, he said there's no telling how long it could last. Government projects, especially ones backed by the federal government, move very slow, he said, as we've seen since the flood. So there's no telling really how long it could last or how much money it'll cost, because it'll cost what it costs. This kind of the same thing with debris removal after hurricanes. You just kind of do the work, and then what it costs, that's what you end up paying. But so we'll see. And he said it should get started before the end of this year. So that'll be something to be looking out for over the next, you would assume, several months that this project will go on.
Right, and it's important to add real quick that a lot of people that have responded to us, reached out to us here at the news, don't seem to realize, and we only learned this in just the last few years. Both the Amite and the Comite are designated floodways through the federal government, through FEMA, and things of that nature. So when you get into a situation like this, having a cooperative endeavor agreement helps, of course, but you have to get clearance from them to do things like this. So it takes time. It takes a lot of time. Unlike what happened over using some community development block grants and things like that to clean up the tick fall and things like that. There, you had to go through a much longer process.
Yeah.
For this one. Getting into a kind of a piece of interesting news, I think caught a lot of the Denham Springs community off guard. A relatively young officer with the Denham Springs Police Department did get into trouble and was picked up in Texas after just a year after receiving a whole lot of accolades locally. So tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, this is Joseph Reed Copeland. He is now former Denham Springs police officer. That's the one issue with having a weekly paper. In the paper, you'll see this week that they are seeking him, but they have actually caught him as of last night, Tuesday. Reed Copeland first of all, he was accused of an inappropriate relationship with a juvenile. The officials didn't really release much more information with these types of investigations, especially ones involving kids. They play it very close to the chest. So, Chief Ronnie Walker, the new Denham Springs Police Chief, received some complaints earlier this month about inappropriate relationship. They conducted an internal affairs investigation, and Mr. Copeland resigned shortly after. Then Chief Walker got the sheriff's office involved, asked them to conduct an investigation, seeing as it was one of their own officers on staff. It's better to have an independent investigator in this. And so Sheriff Ard, they conducted the investigation, and they found that there was enough evidence there to charge him with felony carnal knowledge of a juvenile, malfeasance in office, and then they issued the warrant for his arrest. And it was Friday, I believe, whenever they made that public, they were searching for Mr. Copeland. And then, like I said, Tuesday night, they found him in Irving, Texas, about 450 miles away from Denham Springs. So he fled the state, and that he will be transported back to Livingston Parish at some point. Not sure when at this time, but yeah. So that'll be like I said, he resigned, so he's no longer with the staff. But yeah, that is one of the things that really I think made this story hit harder for a lot of people was Mr. Copeland had been recognized by the Denham Springs City Council, Denham Springs Kiwanis Club, John Kennedy's office, and Attorney General Jeff Landry. So he was someone who was seen to be doing a lot of good in his community. I know that he, when he was recognized by the council, he was recognized because he saw some kids playing basketball and went and bought them a net and a new ball and, just played with them for a few hours, to, just took that time to do something beneficial for the community. But I mean, you have something like this that gets unmasked. We don't know the details yet if he did anything or not, but for them to have enough evidence at this point to at least issue an arrest warrant and have him taken into custody, and him resigning shows there something happened. So we'll wait to see what actually happened when this goes before a judge, jury, that sort of thing. But yeah, I know that that's kind of why this hit harder, just because he was, someone who was seen to be, a well-liked officer in the community.
Yes, so you'll be keeping an eye on that. So that's going to wrap up our show for today. I want to thank this gentleman for joining us this morning to let us know what's going on in Livingston Parish. If you'll take a minute to introduce yourself.
This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys out there for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. This is Around Livingston, where David and I sit down and talk about what's going on around Livingston. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We appreciate you joining us, and we're going to see you next time.